Welcome to the Living Free podcast with myself, Anna, your host. This is the podcast where I try to blend all things faith, spirituality, Christianity, personal development, health, and relationships as well to really show you how you too can live completely free. And when I say free, I mean free of your past, free of your pain, free of fear, free of societal expectations. And so that you too can live from your heart, so that you can have the courage to live from your heart, to be your authentic self, to soften into your soft feminine flow and live ultimately the life of your dreams, because I believe we are all capable of that. It's just a matter of undoing everything else that society told us we had to do, or who we thought we had to be in order to be loved. And so, for those of you that are listening for the first time, my name is Anna. I am, I wear many hats. I'm a detox specialist. I'm a birth doula. I support women with nervous system healing. I'm super passionate about preconception health and womb healing. And, overall, I'm really just someone who wanted to love herself again after years of being severely depressed. And I have learned how to reclaim freedom in my body. And I did that by walking through this journey with God. And I'm here to walk alongside you as you do the same and really share my testimony and share the things that have worked for me, that have gotten me to the place that I am today. And so today's episode is actually an episode that I've wanted to do for a long time, uh, on why I switched from eating a high raw plant-based, or you could say vegan diet, to a primarily animal-based diet over the last year. And I want to just put a disclaimer in here that I'm not trying to tell you what to do with your body. In fact, I actually really encourage everyone to learn how to listen to their own bodies. But I do want to honestly share my experience for those that are interested in hearing about it or learning. And the other thing I want to say is there is already a lot of division in this space. So there's like veganism over here, and then there's carnivore over here, and there's just so much division. And I don't want to add to that. Honestly, I do believe that we as humans are here to live in balance. And balance brings us into harmony with ourselves. And I do think that we need to listen to the call of our own body to know what we need to eat. However, I have learned a lot from my journey from being plant-based to eating more animal foods. And I want to be very honest about that journey and what I actually think the female body needs in order to be in really, really good health. And for many years, I ignored my body. I straight up just didn't know how to even listen to my body. I didn't know how to listen to the language, to the symptoms. When people said eat intuitively, I really had no idea what that meant. And I just ate things that I thought were the healthier option. So I would choose smoothies and salads over a burger because I legitimately thought that was the healthier option. And I'm sure many of you listening on this call right now are like, well, yeah, isn't that the healthier option? And what I discovered is it's actually not. And I want to share some of the reasons why, especially from a feminine perspective. And yeah, just share my honest experience with everything. So to start off, as some of you have probably heard in previous episodes of mine, I went plant-based for about 3 years when I was, 3 years ago, when I was at the beginning of my deeper healing journey, when I started to detox my body. And when I went plant-based, I was also doing a ton of detox. And I was starting to notice a ton of inflammation drop from my body. Now, let me just back up and say, before I decided to go plant-based, I also thought I was eating somewhat healthy, but I still had a ton of inflammation. And now looking back, I see, oh, wow, I never paid attention to where my food came from. I never bought organic. I bought the cheapest frozen chicken that you could in the freezer section. I I didn't pay attention. I also drank a lot of alcohol. Um, and when I went plant-based, I really started to pay attention to, okay, where's this food coming from? Right? Like, is this organic? I started buying only organic. And I started to really cut out like all processed foods, even foods that you wouldn't really consider to be like that bad for you, but that I was eating before. Even just like things like wheat thins. Like I loved wheat thins. I loved canned tuna. Like I always thought those things were somewhat healthy, but they weren't. And so when I went plant-based, it did allow my body, it gave my body a really big break. And because I paid attention to the actual source of where my food was coming from, I think that that also played a big role in a lot of the inflammation dropping from my body. But where I was going with that is that I got so passionate about the changes that I was seeing in my body because I had struggled with, I mean, like when I went plant-based, I lost so much inflammation in my face. I started to sleep better. I started to poop better. I the painful periods were starting to become less painful. And I was so excited about all the changes that I was seeing that I was like, plant-based must be the way. Like plant-based eating is the way. And I really got so passionate about detox that that's when I went back to school to learn about detox, which forever has changed my life and continues to change my life. And I will always preach about the importance of detox. But what I really want to kind of share in this episode today is why we actually don't have to be completely plant-based in order to fully detox the body and to be in good health, and how plant-based eating for actually long periods of time can be actually quite damaging to the body. So I'm going to go into that. But at the beginning of this year, I began to see like that there were other ways to heal the human body and decrease inflammation, and that I actually needed to add animal products back into my life. And and I needed the animal products if I was going to fully heal my nervous system. And that's when I started to think about the wisdom of traditional Chinese medicine, the wisdom that I pulled from detox, to really heal my body. And I started to get feelings that I was supposed to move away from plant-based foods, but because I believed in it so much, like I legitimately thought, and based on the education I received, I thought, wow, like this is the way everybody should be plant-based. Like I really did think that. And then I started to get dreams about raw milk and grass-fed beef and animal liver. And I started to get messages in my dreams that I needed to add these things back into my diet. And then I would even be at like random retreats, and certain people would like show me random videos about how women need animal fats for their hormones. And I was like, this is random. And these are the ways that God and the universe, right, speaks to you to deliver messages to you. And it took me a while to kind of get on board, but then I was like, okay, like I have enough signs here. And um, I remember even when I was solely teaching people about detox and being plant-based to heal the body, I remember there were certain clients that just seemed depleted on plants, and just something inside was like, they need something else. I think they need animal products. But again, my mind was so set on plant-based being the only way. And so I just kept saying, God, please show me. Please show me the way, because I don't want to lead people astray. And this was about the time that I was also becoming a doula. I was training to become a doula. And everything within me said, when I started doing the doula trainings, the birth doula, something within me said, I should not be guiding pregnant women and postpartum women to eat only a plant-based diet. Something feels wrong about that. Something doesn't sit right with me. And so again, I kept praying. I'm like, God, signs, signs, signs. And I continued to get more and more signs that women need animal products, especially in their childbearing time. And I ended up getting really clear direction that was the route I was supposed to go. I even remember getting certain dreams about raw milk. That raw milk and raw honey was a more potent mixture to cleanse the liver than some of the super expensive liver cleansing protocols that I was doing. And I was like, well, okay, like, I guess I need to try this. And so I started to also really think about everything logistically. And I was like, okay, let's think about, I was like, I want to think about how my ancestors ate. Would they have waited all day to eat berries in a salad and then fed berries in a salad to their kids, their hungry kids? Or would they have prized the cow that could give them a super nourishing beef stew? And would they have milked the cows? And, would they have eaten the butter to get the fats, especially for them and their babies? And I was like, I just started to think about it. And from a common sense perspective, I was like, wow, definitely the latter. And at the time, I was living in Minnesota, and I was like, for some reason, it just doesn't feel right in the middle of the winter to only eat plant-based. And I really started to think about eating from a seasonal perspective, and there was just sign after sign, and then different light bulbs going off in my brain where I was like, I actually don't think that plant-based is the only way to decrease inflammation and heal your body. And I remember after getting those dreams about raw milk, I was like, okay, well, I haven't had milk in over a decade. And because it never sat well with me, I could never digest it. It was like constant gas, constant bloating the second I drank it. But then I started to do research on raw milk, and I was seeing like, okay, this has really good bacteria. This has really good enzymes that apparently the human body can break down because this was the way God designed it to be drank. Not the way that the stores sell it, where it's highly heated and pasteurized and totally messed with from cows that are being pumped with antibiotics and who knows what. And I remember finding a farmer in Minnesota that did, he did everything himself, and I tried raw milk from him, and I was like, this is the best thing I think I've ever drank. And I felt so good. I felt so good. No gas, no bloating, no indigestion. And actually, I think it was the beginning of me really deeply healing my gut. Because after I started to drink that milk, which was like super cooling for my body at the time, which like felt really good. That was something I needed. There was just something about it, and I can't even put my finger on it, but when you eat something and you're like, this is good for me. My body likes this. That's exactly how I felt with the raw milk. And then I started eating more grass-fed beef on a regular basis. Same thing. Felt really, really good. And, I'm not going to lie, when I was fully plant-based, I still wanted to sneak meat. Like, I still wanted to, like, I shouldn't say sneak, but I really wanted to eat the meat. But I was like, no, shut it down. I can't, right? Like, that's not the healthy thing. And those were literally the voices that would like play over in my head and over and over. And because I was so convinced at the time. And anyways, my whole life started changing. My whole body started changing when I started adding plant-based foods back in. And at this time when I was adding it in, I was also going through some of the hardest parts of my healing journey. That was when I received the stellate ganglion block. I actually went animal based before I received the stellate ganglion block, but even before the block is when I was dealing with so much post traumatic stress. I was working through childhood trauma and doing all that I could just to try to like make my nervous system feel safe. And the animal based foods, especially the beef, was absolutely necessary. Like, I actually know for a fact that I would not be in the place that I am if it wasn't for beef and bone broth and the rich grounding foods that I was eating at that time. My nervous system needed those foods. And what I really ended up learning by feeling out what certain foods were doing in my body was that the plant-based foods, by just being solely plants alone and cutting out all animal products, so just raw juice, and high raw. So like raw juices, raw fruits, raw veggies. What those foods do is they bring light into the body, which is necessary, right? We are light beings. However, we are not only light beings. We are humans meant to be grounded in the earth experience. And so we need both heavy and light. And the raw foods bring light into the body. And the reason they're so good to support deep detox is because they liberate so many toxins. So it's like, if you feel kind of sick after you have a big raw juice, or like you just feel kind of like, ugh, it's because it literally liberated toxins in your body. And it's great from a detox perspective, however, for short periods of time. However, what I noticed with animal products, because they were heavier in nature, they actually had the ability to push old heavy energy out of my body in the ways that plants literally could never have done. So when you are healing your body, or you're working through stuff from childhood, or you're healing your nervous system and you're having certain memories come forward and you're going through a lot of emotions, and everybody on earth right now is on a healing journey, whether they realize it or not. But when you're like really in the trenches and you've got all this like old stuff coming up, this is all moving through the digestive system to be processed. And we have to assist those things through the digestive system, or they just sit there and they just get reabsorbed and you feel like garbage. And if I didn't have beef when I was working through a lot of like my old memories and doing a lot of my nervous system healing, like I can tell you for a fact, I would not be where I'm at today, like in the current health that I'm at. Because what I noticed when I ate animal products, when I ate heavier foods like beef, I could feel those old memories like moving through my digestive tract. And then what I would do is I would do coffee enemas and suck it all out and get rid of it. And what I began to understand was, that we need heavy foods to pull heavy energy out of the body. And from an energetic perspective, like that's just talking about the energetics of it, it helped me so much as I was doing a lot of my inner child healing. And I think that there's a really big misconception in the world today about spirituality and needing to be vegan or needing to be plant-based because everybody's trying to ascend, or I guess that's the best way to say it. Everybody's trying to like ascend and be light in their body. And again, I just want to say we are not here to leave the physical body. We've literally chosen to be here on earth, to be in our body, to be on earth, happy, grounded, living on earth, grounded in our bodies, not to leave. And so that to me, when we're always trying to like leave is like a form of escapism, but I won't go that route right now. But I want to say just back, I'm diverging, but basically there's a misconception that you need to be vegan in order to grow in your spirituality. And that is just completely false. You can eat, in fact, we must eat animal foods to heal the body. And you can grow just as much, and I would say, if not more. So there's this I see it all the time. I see people posting all the time that we need to eat light foods because we're light beings, and we need to eat living foods because we're living beings. And in order to grow in your spirituality, you need to be light, and that animal foods are going to bring you down and they're going to be too heavy. And that's just false. It's just simply not true. And I know from my own experience, and I just know it. And I actually think that too much of the raw is harming our hormones as men and women. But here I want to talk about women specifically. It is really disrupting our bodies. And so anyways, those are just some of the small reasons from my own personal perspective in comparison to like some of the scientific reasons of why we need to be eating more animal foods from a nutrient perspective. So I do want to talk about those instead of it just being all about my personal experience, because although that is helpful, I know people listening to this are also going to want to understand, like, okay, what are some concrete reasons of why it's important for me to eat more animal-based foods. And the first reason I want to talk about is that your womb as a woman needs blood-building foods. So your menstrual cycle, your menstrual blood, is a direct reflection of your nourishment in your body. And many women today are not in tune with their cycle because we've literally been taught nothing about it. And we've also been sold this lie that birth control is safe, and that when we have certain symptoms in the body, just go on birth control, and it's fine to not have a period. It's fine to not ovulate for a while. And it's just honestly simply not true. And so your blood during your cycle is showing you all these signs about what's going on inside of your body. And it's not normal to have irregular periods, missing periods, scanty periods, heavy periods, clotty periods. And animal-based foods like liver and eggs and red meat and bone broth, they rebuild and enrich your blood. So they replenish your essence, your jing, your life force that fuels your cycle and your fertility. And in fact, I believe it's necessary. And plant-based diets alone often lack heme iron and B vitamins your body needs to sustain this like monthly cycle, this monthly renewal, this monthly shedding. So many women today are super depleted, they're anemic, they're disconnected from their natural rhythm of their cycle, and they're disconnected from their self. And from my own personal experience, I can attest now, I have regular periods every new moon, and I can feel myself ovulating every single month. And I do attribute this, to not only, all of the inner child work, all of that was so necessary, but animal-based foods helped me heal my nervous system and continue to deeply nourish and replenish me and my womb every day, every single day. And I'll share towards the end kind of what a typical day looks like for me from an eating perspective, but I just simply wouldn't be where I'm at without it. The other thing I want to say for like a second reason would be that animal-based foods strengthen your spleen and your kidneys. So your spleen your spleen in your body is not often talked about, but it's so important. And it governs digestion and it governs the creation of blood. Your kidneys store your jing or your essence, and animal proteins support both of those organs by giving you that nourishment. And it supports digestion, it replenishes reserves. And when the spleen and the kidneys are weak, which I've had to work really hard to strengthen my spleen and my kidneys, not only from being plant-based, but also from just living the entire life that I did until that point. Um, the womb will lose warmth and stability when the kidneys and the spleen are weak. And that is, when we're eating too many cooling raw foods, this will really damage the spleen over time. All foods have either a warming or a cooling effect to them. And most plant-based foods, even when cooked, like not all of them, but even certain cooked plant-based foods are more cooling in nature. And so it's not just about whether you're eating it hot or cold, or if it's raw or if it's not raw. The food itself actually has like a warming or a cooling element to it. And it really does impact the body. The other reason is because your hormones are made from fat. Your hormones as a woman are made from fat. And so healthy cycles and balanced moods depend on whether or not you're getting adequate cholesterol and saturated fats in your diet, which are the raw materials for estrogen and progesterone. So when you're eating a lot of grass-fed beef or lamb, whatnot, you're literally supporting stable hormones in your body. You're supporting radiant skin. You're supporting a fertile womb space. And I don't know if for anyone watching the video, I don't know if you can see, but my skin is healthier than it has ever been. My hair is healthier than it's ever been. My nails, everything about me is more radiant and vibrant because I don't deprive myself. And I'm going to talk about that in a second as well, just how important it is for us women to be nourished. But I just want to quickly go back to the fats piece. Is there will be some people that say, well, plants also have fat. That's true. Plants also contain fat. Their structure, their energy, they also contain fat. However, when thinking about the structure and the energy and the role of those fats from animal fats, they differ profoundly. And the feminine body, especially the hormones and the reproductive systems, they're really, really sensitive to these differences. So because animal fats are rich in cholesterol, again, that's what your body uses to create estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. And plant fats contain zero cholesterol. So if you are solely relying on, and I did, animal fats to get what you need, it is likely going to affect your fertility, your emotional balance, your cycles, because you just simply can't get all of the fats you need for hormone production from olive oil, from avocado oil, from nut oils. You just simply can't. And you really may not be getting enough of the fatty acids and the cholesterol that you need. And then that could be why, if you are plant-based and you're still dealing with some of these issues, that could be why. And the other reason I wanted to bring up was that your nervous system and your womb are very closely linked. So I post about this a lot on my Instagram, but your womb holds your emotions, your memories, your stress patterns. It is like an energetic library. And when our nervous system softens and feels safe, our womb also softens. So they're very interconnected. And animal foods like animal-based foods contain things like collagen and glycine and actually absorbable amino acids. And you get that from like the broth and the slow cooked meats and the organ meats, especially. And it literally helps regulate your nervous system. It creates inner safety in your body from just a physical perspective so that you can release, so that you can receive, whether that's, for emotional healing, for new life, whatever it may be. Animal-based foods literally create safety in the body. And I think that's one of the most important takeaways from this that I hope some of you that have maybe felt like stuck on your healing journey, like you just can't get past certain symptoms. This helped me so dramatically in regulating my nervous system. I would not be where I'm at without it. The other reason I want to bring up is that animal-based foods, most of them are, especially meat, right, are warming and grounding. So again, we think about the nervous system, but from a traditional Chinese medicine perspective, the womb thrives in warmth. Cold, raw foods all the time weaken digestion and they cool the uterus. Okay, so when you're eating a bunch of raw, when you're always choosing the smoothie and then you're getting the raw salad because you think that's the healthier option, and then for dinner you have just like, I don't know, cooked lentils. These are cooling in nature. They are cooling the uterus, and the womb needs warmth, not only for conception, but for just for health. And cooked animal foods, like when you're eating the beef and the lamb and the salmon and the bone broth, and like all of these stoke your inner fire, they call it, and it improves circulation to the womb. And so stews, broths, slow cooked meats, foods that anchor you back into your body. These are so necessary for the human body, and specifically, I will say, the female body. And when we're only doing cold, raw, heavy, the plant heavy diets, it creates a cooling environment inside of the uterus. And sometimes, right? Sometimes we do need to go plant-based for short periods of time to cool down the inflammation in the body. If there's a lot of excess heat in the body, that can be really beneficial, but for short periods of time. Because when we have too cool of a uterus, this is when we see painful periods, clotty periods, infertility, implantation issues. You have cold hands and feet. You have barely any sex drive. Like, this is all a sign of a cold uterus. And if you are a woman that is trying to get pregnant, or you are pregnant, or you're postpartum, you should not be eating anything cold at this time. And I really didn't know this. I'm always willing to be proven wrong on the things that I share. And this life is all it's a matter of like learning and trial and error sometimes, and sometimes you have to go to far to this scale or far to this scale to come back to balance. But what I do know now is that for if you're in your childbearing time, the womb needs warmth. No smoothies, no salads, not a ton of raw fruits. Like, we need balance, but it mostly needs to be warm because it needs to be a fertile environment for an egg to implant or a baby to grow or the womb to heal after childbirth. And cold and cooling foods are really a big no when you're preparing for motherhood. And I would even encourage you, if you're like, nah, that's not true. When you become more in tune with your body and you start to eat like you feel your body when you drink a cold smoothie, it literally constricts the womb. Like, you can feel your womb start to hurt. There's a reason why we put warmth on our womb when we're having painful periods, right? We want blood flow circulating, and cold constricts that. And the other thing I'll say, and this is a really big reason, on why I am a firm believer that the female body needs animal foods. But animal foods are super nutrient dense. And, you think about things like liver, bone marrow, egg yolks, like this restores life force and restores the womb for creation and conception. And we do not thrive as females in restriction. We need deep nourishment. And, eating more animal foods is not about perfection, but it's about receiving nourishment in its most natural form. And when we really like soften our mind, or like the rules that we feel we're supposed to follow, and you really just listen to your body's truth, you will often feel that she wants grounding, warmth, deep nourishing foods, not deprivation. Not choosing the salad over the burger because, well, I should. If you really listen to your body, you're probably going to hear something else. A woman's body was never meant to live in deprivation. She's designed to receive. The female's designed to receive, to be nourished, to create from abundance. And when we withhold nourishment by dieting, even withholding nourishment, like, when we suppress our emotions, all of that, we send a signal to the body and the womb that it's not safe to open, to feel, to create, all of that. And so I'm kind of going down a little bit of a hole on fertility, but just back to the nourishment piece and not depriving your body. I think there's so much diet culture. There's so much, so many trendy things out there. And I just would encourage those of you listening to listen to your body, to really tune in. And when you look at a menu or you think about what you want to eat for dinner, what is actually calling out to you? And when we deprive our bodies of a bunch of food groups, we can't produce enough estrogen or progesterone or testosterone. And these are the very hormones that make you feel vibrant, that make you feel sensual, that make you feel emotionally balanced. And without this nourishment, your cycle gets irregular. You get mood swings. Your connection to yourself and your body weakens. And I will say, through the work of detoxification and also healing my nervous system through inner child work and through deeply nourishing foods, my intuition has gotten so much stronger. And it's such a beautiful thing. And I really want that for all women, to constantly feel like they're deepening their connection with themselves. And again, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the sacred animal products that have like literally brought my body back to life. And the other thing I want to say about deep nourishment is that it's very easy to feel as a woman that you need to choose the lighter option to be healthier. Like, we need to choose the salad or the juice or the lean chicken. And I want to actually completely disagree with that. That I think as women, we need deep nourishment from fatty foods. And the more fatty foods that I've eaten, the more weight that I've lost. And there's just this misconception that we as women need to eat lightly. And light means like raw veggies and carrots and celery. And like, no, eat until you're full. Eat until you're satisfied. Eating is also a sensual experience. Like, we're literally here to live. Like, I'm not perfect. Do I buy high quality foods? Yes, I do. And does that consist of 80% of my diet? Yes, it does. But when I'm craving a burger and fries, I go have a burger and fries. I literally do. If I'm craving nachos, I go and I get the shredded beef nachos. And guess what? Now that I've healed my gut with all of the bone broth and the animal fats, I can eat anything and I'm fine. Where before it would like throw off my entire day. It would throw me off so bad. I would have gas, bloating, the whole ordeal. And now I can treat myself to like the occasional treat and I'm fine. And so, yeah, I just want to encourage women to deeply nourish themselves. No more restriction because the restriction is really, it's really hurting us and it's hurting our nervous system. And your nervous system as a female is at the root of your entire body, all of your just every function, every organ. Um, I also wanted to bring up some information about the actual specific nutrients. So, when it comes to nervous system healing and animal products hold things like B12 and DHA and high amounts of zinc, and they're critical for brain and nerve function. And your body can actually absorb the nutrients in animal-based products. And deficiencies in nutrients like this, like literally can really impact anxiety and depression and fatigue and just stress resilience. And those are pretty common in vegan diets without careful supplementation. And I just really don't believe, now that I've seen what food can do, I really don't believe we should have to be on thousands of dollars of other supplements and biohacking tools. And there's so much out there. Like, the healing industry is wild. Like, there's so many things out there. But it's like, if you just go back to nature, you go back to putting your bare feet on the ground, you get in the sun, you go take a walk, you eat the steak with all of the fat and you cook it in butter, and you get to sleep at a good time, and you do the occasional coffee enema or the daily one like me because we do live in a toxic world and need to keep moving things out of the body at this time. um you really don't need much. I take certain Chinese herbs to support like my spleen and my kidneys and all of that as I prepare, one day to have babies of my own. But I used to spend, I'm not kidding. Like, I have loads, thousands of dollars worth of supplements and random biohacking tools and all the things. And I don't need any of them. I don't need any of them anymore. And I'm not saying that we don't need to supplement certain things sometimes to heal the body, because we do. But I think that the healing industry kind of has this way of keeping you in this like never-ending healing loop when it really shouldn't have to be that way. And just the other thing I wanted to mention about animal products is that they really do support our muscles. And I have noticed major differences in myself in terms of like, just like muscle growth and like how my body feels and like the tightness, if that makes sense. And animal proteins they're complete, they're bioavailable. They contain all the essential amino acids in the proper ratios for your body to absorb them. And we as women need this for stable blood sugar, for energy, for muscle tone, for healthy metabolism, and especially during pregnancy and postpartum. And then, I think I mentioned this before, but like the iron, the zinc, the B12 absorption. We get heme iron from red meat, and that's like 3 times more efficient than non-heme iron from plants at being absorbed. And I know that there's women that deal with anemia, and they're dealing with a ton of fatigue and hair loss and dizziness and low mood. And you can get what you need from animal products, and it doesn't have to be so complicated. And the last thing I'll say is that, when you just think about the foods you should be eating in accordance to where you live as well. So it's like if I lived in Costa Rica on a farm and it was hot all the time and um, I needed more cooling foods, I'd be able to eat more raw fruits in a climate like that. But for those of us that live in Montana, Minnesota, Idaho, um, I'm trying to think of other North Dakota, South Dakota, things like that, places like that, you need to eat with the seasons. And in the middle of winter, we're not growing raw fruits. And you want to keep your body warm. And your body is using a lot of energy during the winter months to try to keep you warm. And so if we're just eating a lot of raw foods, it's really going to deplete your life force. Um, so eat with the seasons, eat according to where you live. And, I just want to sum it up by saying, like, please listen to your body. I know I got super passionate about certain things as I was talking because I really have had a lot of experience with my own body. And I want to help those of you that are like feeling stuck. But I do want to encourage you, listen to your own body. Like, I know when my body's craving a raw juice versus when it's craving a big piece of steak. And our bodies are always talking to us if we just listen to them. And, ultimately, we do need to do different things at different times, depending on what we're going through, because we're human. We live in cycles. And as females, we are also very much so cyclical beings. And it's important to learn how to listen to the wisdom of your body. However, in my own opinion, if I'm just like being completely honest, I do strongly believe that we as humans should only be plant-based for short periods of time when we're doing certain deeper detoxification protocols. Because if we detox too much and we eat too many plant-based foods and cooling foods all the time, this over time will damage the spleen. It will damage the digestion, and it will hurt your womb as a woman. And we do need to detox in today's world. That is one of the things I talk about all the time. So I do think adding certain detox tools to your routine, such as coffee enemas and binders and things like that, they're really important on a regular basis. But I've now seen with my own body that I don't believe everyone needs to be plant-based 100% of the time to support detox of the human body. And I think that it can actually be quite harmful over time for the nervous system and the digestion. And animal-based foods healed my gut like nothing else could. And I'm serious, you guys. I used to be so sensitive, and now I can eat almost anything without bloating, gas, or indigestion. And I have people, that have asked me, like, what do you eat in a day? So I thought I'd share just briefly for those of you that are curious. But the first thing I eat when I wake up is ground beef. Almost consistently, like I wake up and I have ground beef either alone or with bone broth. And, I might have a few pieces of fruit throughout the day. I might have some raw cheese. I might have some more beef. I eat a lot of beef, like if we're being honest. And for dinner I'll have like root veggies and more beef, or lamb or salmon or things like that. But I really don't feel called anymore to like a bunch of vegetables. And when I eat lentils, I notice I just poop them out. Like they're not even being digested. And like, I don't know, if I'm being honest, like if someone puts a big bowl of lentils in front of me or like a big bowl of like delicious buttery steak with garlic and whatnot, like I want that. I don't feel nourished when I eat just like a big bowl of only squash or only lentils or like even a big bowl of vegetables. Like I'm just simply not satiated. And I think most people are probably feeling that way too. Um, and it can be nice in the summer when you need like lighter things and you're not feeling as hungry, but most of the time, yeah, my body's calling for like heavier foods, especially in the winter, like warming broths and stews and red meats. And anyways, I hope this helps those of you that, have been struggling with certain symptoms, that you can't get rid of, or you're still working on healing your nervous system. Clean animal products changed my life and I will never go back. And just, yeah, I thank God for like the beautiful animals that give their life to nourish our bodies. And the last thing I'll say about that is it is really important to know the source of your food. So what you eat and how those animals were treated really does impact your health. So if you're eating factory farmed beef where they're treating their cows terribly, it's super, they're killed in inhumane ways and they're pumped with antibiotics versus eating cows that are farmed in the mountains of Montana and they're living peaceful lives, grazing upon the grass and they're in the flowers and they're just roaming freely and they're killed in a humane way. That is going to impact your health, like in a big way. And so it's not just about the food that you eat as much as it is also about the quality of the food and knowing where it comes from, knowing how they're treated. It really matters. It really matters. And so I do want to emphasize that because if I would have just been eating like, I don't know, if I would have been eating beef that ate corn and um, was they were factory farmed and all of that, that wouldn't have been healing for my nervous system. Animals are sacred teachers for the human body, and they can actually, like, our organs can learn how to work again and work better, and that can heal and soften the nervous system based on how that animal has been treated and how they've lived their life. And um, the last thing I'll say is like, I really don't think that we should be stuck in this loop of healing forever. If you've been going round and round and round for years and you still have the same symptoms, and, I want to say, like, you likely need nourishing foods, you likely need some detox protocols and to heal your inner child. Like, we shouldn't have to, we just, I'm just, through my own healing, I've really seen how easy it can be to just get stuck in this loop of healing, 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 healing. But I really do believe, we shouldn't have to see multiple practitioners for multiple years and take multiple supplements and always be trying the new trendy diet to achieve freedom in our bodies. And I've really seen that when you create safety in your nervous system by eating the right foods, you detox at the right time, and you heal the inner child and integrate the parts of you that were wounded as a child, you really shouldn't need much. And a lot can change in a short period of time when we're tending to those specific areas. And so that's all for today. I just noticed this is 55 minutes long, which is kind of long. I wasn't expecting this topic to go that long, but I do have a lot of just strong opinions based on what I have seen in my own body and what I have seen in other women's bodies that I've worked with. And so, again, not trying to create more division, but do want to be authentic and truthful and just share my honest opinion. And I do hope that you find what works for you as well. And hopefully this helps in some way. And again, I'm always testing more things out with my body. And again, I go in cycles. And, when spring rolls around and when summer rolls around, I'm eating more watermelon. I'm eating things that are cooling. But I have really learned how to listen to the language of my body. And And I just want that for all women because it really will change your life. So thank you again. If you're curious where to find more of me, you can find my Instagram at Ahna_regenerative birth, or you can visit my website at regenerativebirth.com. I also have a preconception course with all of this information, along with supporting fertility for men and women and how to prepare for conception mentally, physically, spiritually. And that is artofcleanlivingcourse.com. And I also have another course launching very, very soon for people that get the stellate ganglion block, to actually integrate their experience to heal the inner child and detox the body after that procedure. So that course will be coming out very, very soon as well. So stay tuned, and thank you so much.